When you think of rich people, you probably imagine unlimited spending and lavish lifestyles. But in reality, most wealthy individuals have strict rules about what they'll never waste their money on. It might surprise you, but many rich people remain wealthy precisely because they're careful about how they spend, even though they have plenty to spare. In this video, I'll share exactly what rich people avoid buying, even though they could easily afford these things. By learning these simple habits, you might start seeing more money stay in your own pocket too. First, rich people almost never waste money on overpriced cars. You might think that once someone has plenty of money, buying expensive cars would be natural, but many wealthy individuals prefer reliable cars that don't lose value quickly. For example, you might see a millionaire driving a standard Toyota or Honda instead of a luxury car worth 10 times more. Why? Because they understand that the moment you buy an expensive car, it starts losing value. They'd rather spend $25,000 on a reliable vehicle that lasts years than $100,000 on something that's flashy but rapidly depreciates. Even billionaire Warren Buffett famously drives modest cars because he sees vehicles purely as a way to get from one place to another, not as investments or status symbols. Next, rich people generally avoid brand new electronics every year. Phones, laptops, and gadgets constantly get upgrades, tempting many people to spend money regularly to keep up. But wealthy people rarely buy these devices as soon as they come out. Instead, they hold onto their phones for several years because they know new technology quickly loses its value. Why pay $1,200 for a phone today if next year's model will make it feel outdated? Rich people don't fall for marketing tricks and rarely feel the pressure to impress others with the newest tech. For them, practical functionality matters more than being first in line. Another expense wealthy people carefully avoid is paying unnecessary fees. This includes late fees, ATM fees, overdraft charges, and especially credit card interest. Rich people make sure their bills are paid on time and often automate their payments to avoid late fees altogether. Consider this. If you frequently pay a $30 late fee or incur ATM fees each month, that's hundreds of dollars wasted every year. Wealthy people refuse to let small fees chip away at their finances, no matter how small those fees might seem individually. They'd rather put that extra money into savings or investments, where it can actually grow over time. Rich people also never waste money on high-interest debt. Credit card interest and payday loans are among the most expensive forms of debt. Interest rates on credit cards can easily exceed 20% annually. For wealthy people, this is completely unacceptable. They either pay off their credit cards fully each month or avoid using them altogether. If you think about it, paying interest means throwing money away, something wealthy people actively avoid. Instead, they use credit carefully, only when it benefits them financially, like accumulating reward points or cashback offers. Debt that costs them money without offering clear benefits is something they avoid entirely. Another common expense rich people avoid is buying designer clothing just because of the logo. While it's easy to picture wealthy people wearing designer brands, many quietly wealthy individuals prefer quality clothing without visible labels. They'd rather invest in clothes that last longer, even if they're not famous brands. Think about it. Spending $300 on a shirt just because it has a particular logo doesn't improve quality, it merely inflates the price. Wealthy individuals know this and buy well-made clothing without worrying about labels or trends. For them, clothing is practical, not a status symbol. Similarly, rich people almost never waste money on impulse shopping. You know how it feels. You see something you didn't plan on buying and suddenly it's in your cart. For wealthy individuals, this habit is rare. They usually shop with clear intentions. They plan purchases carefully and avoid spontaneous decisions that add up to hundreds or thousands of dollars over the year. For instance, they make shopping lists before going to the store, and rarely do they stray from it. This discipline might seem small, but over time it saves them thousands of dollars, helping them remain wealthy. Rich people also steer clear of wasting money on unused subscriptions. Whether it's streaming services, gym memberships, magazines, or premium apps, monthly subscriptions quickly add up. Many average people keep paying for services they no longer use or barely remember signing up for. Wealthy people, however, regularly check their statements and quickly cancel anything unnecessary. They understand that monthly fees, even if just $10 or $20, add up significantly over the long term. They prefer spending their money consciously on things they actually use and value. Another expense that rich people consistently avoid is frequent dining at expensive restaurants. This might seem counterintuitive because it's easy to imagine wealthy individuals regularly dining out. But many rich people often cook at home or choose simple, affordable restaurants most days. Eating at high-end restaurants regularly is expensive, and wealthy people know that cooking at home can be healthier, cheaper, and equally enjoyable. It doesn't mean they never eat out. They simply balance luxury with practicality, rather than eating their money away daily. Wealthy people also avoid unnecessary upgrades to their homes. For example, renovating kitchens, bathrooms, or interiors every few years to keep up with trends is rare among those who genuinely value financial stability. They make home improvements for functional reasons, not simply to follow trends or impress guests. Expensive home upgrades rarely add equal value when it's time to sell. Wealthy people know that putting too much money into cosmetic improvements won't necessarily pay off, so they avoid it. Another big waste rich people avoid is gambling or risky investments. You might think that people with plenty of money wouldn't mind a little risk, but wealthy people protect their finances carefully. They avoid casinos, lotteries, or other gambling activities because the odds are stacked against them. They prefer calculated investments where risk is carefully balanced and understood. Rather than gambling for a quick thrill, they patiently invest their money in reliable assets like stocks, real estate, or businesses that grow steadily over time. Rich people also typically avoid extravagant vacations every time they travel. Sure, they can afford luxurious vacations, but that doesn't mean they constantly book expensive hotels or first-class flights. Instead, many wealthy people prefer to travel comfortably but practically, choosing experiences and locations they genuinely enjoy rather than just spending big money for luxury's sake. They might rent apartments or modest hotels rather than lavish resorts, keeping travel costs reasonable without sacrificing enjoyment. Finally, rich people avoid lending money casually to friends and family. It's not that they aren't generous, they just know mixing money and personal relationships can be complicated. Lending money informally often leads to misunderstandings, strained relationships, or unpaid loans. Instead, they usually keep financial help formal or offer support in ways that don't directly involve cash loans. They understand money can complicate relationships, so they protect their wealth and friendships by setting clear boundaries. In short, being wealthy doesn't mean wasting money on everything possible. Instead, most rich people remain rich because they intentionally avoid unnecessary spending. They prefer keeping money in their pockets, choosing carefully when to spend and when to save. They avoid common money traps like expensive cars, new gadgets every year, designer clothes, impulse purchases, unnecessary subscriptions, expensive restaurants, home upgrades, gambling, extravagant vacations, casual lending, and high-interest debt. You don't have to be rich to adopt these habits. Even small changes can help you save more, keep more, and eventually have more. If you start thinking carefully about where your money goes, you might find yourself becoming wealthier too. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these insights and want more simple ways to make the most of your money, please like and subscribe to this channel. Remember, it's not about how much money you earn, but about how wisely you spend it.